They thought their marriages were forever. They built families, supported careers, and stood by their men for decades. Then younger women showed up and everything changed. From public affairs to humiliating replacements, these Real Housewives were traded in for newer models. This is what happened when age became a weapon against them. Brandi Glenville's story is the most famous Real Housewives affair scandal in franchise history. When Brandi married actor Eddie Syrian in May 2001, she thought she'd found her forever partner. They had 2 sons together, Mason, born in 2003, and Jake in 2007. Brandi supported Eddie's career through roles on Sunset Beach, Third Watch, and CSI Miami. She was the devoted wife and mother living what appeared to be a perfect life in Los Angeles. But in 2008, everything changed. Eddie was cast in the Lifetime movie Northern Lights opposite country music singer LeAnn Rimes. Eddie was 36 years old and married with 2 young children. LeAnn was 27 years old, 9 years younger than Eddie, and also married to chef Dean Sharamet. What started as an on-set friendship quickly became something more. By 2009, tabloid photos surfaced showing Eddie and LeAnn looking cozy together, and both marriages imploded. In July 2009, Brandi and Eddie announced their separation when it was revealed Eddie had been having an affair with LeAnn. The timing couldn't have been more humiliating for Brandi. Next, she found out her husband was cheating through tabloid reports and paparazzi photos like everyone else. Eddie initially denied the affair, releasing a statement calling it a fabricated story using random snapshots as connective tissue to create a scandalous relationship. That statement was proven to be a complete lie when both Eddie and LeAnn divorced their respective spouses and immediately moved in together. Brandi has been brutally honest about how the discovery affected her. In an interview with Glamour, she admitted she slashed Eddie's motorcycle tires when she first found out about the affair. That's how angry and betrayed she felt. Years later on her podcast, she revealed there were even earlier affairs Eddie had during their marriage, including allegedly with actress Piper Perabo when they worked on the 2005 film The Cave. Eddie denied those additional affairs, but Bry's consistent story is that Eddie was a serial cheater throughout their marriage, and LeAnn wasn't the first, just the one he finally left for. The divorce was finalized on September 30th, 2010. Brandi didn't get the settlement she wanted and wound up with nothing financially, according to reports. She'd been a stay-at-home mother focused on raising their sons while Eddie built his career. And when the marriage ended, she was left scrambling to support herself. That's when she joined Real Housewives of Beverly Hills for Season 2, documenting her pain and humiliation for Bravo cameras. What made Bry's situation particularly agonizing was watching LeAnn bond with her sons and post about it constantly on social media. In a 2013 interview with Bethany Frankel, Brandi said it's the worst pain you could ever imagine. You think your heart is broken after you get a divorce? Wait until there is a girl tweeting pictures of, "Oh, look at my family." Nor you have no idea. She admitted to taking Xanax to deal with seeing LeAnn inserting herself into her children's lives. "I feel like she almost does it to antagonize me." Brandi said, "You can have the man, but those are my babies." Eddie and LeAnn married in April 2011, less than 1 year after their divorces were finalized. The couple has remained together for over 14 years now, proving that sometimes the affair relationship actually does last. But for Brandi, the humiliation of being replaced by a younger woman, a famous one at that, and having to watch her sons call LeAnn bonus mom has been ongoing torture. In recent years, Brandi, Eddie, and LeAnn have achieved something resembling peace for the sake of the children. They spent Easter together in 2018. They attended Jake's high school graduation together in 2024. Brandi has posted photos with LeAnn, calling them a blended family. But that peace came after a decade of fighting, public feuds. Ant and Brandi writing 2 best-selling books about the affair. The damage Eddie caused by leaving Brandi for a younger woman will never fully heal, even if they can now exist in the same room. Camille Grammer joined Real Housewives of Beverly Hills as an original cast member in 2010, and the show documented the spectacular collapse of her marriage to Frasier star Kelsey Grammer in real time. What viewers didn't know as they watched season 1 was that Kelsey had already moved on with a much younger woman. Camille was 41 years old when Kelsey, then 55, asked for a divorce. The woman he was leaving her for was Kate Walsh, a 29-year-old British flight attendant who was 17 years younger than Camille and 26 years younger than Kelsey. The timeline of when Kelsey's relationship with Kate actually began is murky. What's clear is that by the time Kelsey filed for divorce in July 2010, he proposed to Kate quickly and they married in February 2011, weeks after his divorce from Camille was finalized. The speed with which he replaced Camille was shocking and humiliating. This wasn't a man who grieved the end of his 14-year marriage. This was a man who couldn't wait to start over with someone younger. And what made the situation particularly painful for Camille was that Kelsey gave her almost no warning. She found out about the divorce through public channels rather than a private conversation. The blind side was captured on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills as Camille processed the betrayal in front of cameras. She had supported Kelsey's career, given him 2 children through surrogacy after suffering years of infertility, and stood by him through his struggles with alcoholism and substance abuse. And her reward was being traded in for a flight attendant young enough to be his daughter. The silver lining for Camille was financial. Because Kelsey had never asked her to sign a prenuptial agreement, Camille was entitled to a significant chunk of his fortune. She walked away with $30 million in the divorce settlement. "Thank God I didn't have a prenup," Camille told Andy Cohen at a reunion. "Thank you, Kelsey. I guess you loved me at one point on the show." Mel Camille defended the settlement by saying, "I just didn't sit back buying fancy clothes and shoving bonbons in my face. I mean, I worked hard." She'd been his partner and supporter for 14 years, and she deserved to be compensated for that. Despite being replaced by a much younger woman, Camille took the high road publicly. She congratulated Kelsey on his new relationship and wished him well, showing a level of grace that Kelsey certainly hadn't shown her. Aunt Kelsey and Kate have remained married and have 3 children together, sons Kelsey Jr. and Auden, and daughter Faith. Kate admitted in an interview on Oprah's Next Chapter that she wishes their love's origin story hadn't been so scandalous. "I'm not proud of the way we started out," Kut said, because he was in a marriage. But that regret didn't change the fact that she'd been the other woman who destroyed Camille's marriage. For Camille, life after Kelsey has been complicated. She's appeared on and off throughout Real Housewives of Beverly Hills seasons, never quite regaining her footing as a main cast member. She went through another divorce from her second husband, Dimitri Cheryl Limbopoulos, amid allegations of domestic violence. She survived the Woozy fire in 2018, which destroyed her Malibu home. The Kelsey divorce was just the beginning of a series of tragedies and challenges that would define her post-marriage life. Shannon Beor's marriage to David Beor played out across multiple seasons of Real Housewives of Orange County, and it was painful to watch from beginning to end. Shannon joined RHC in Season 9 in 2014, and by Season 12, David's affair was revealed. He'd been unfaithful with a woman who was approximately 20 years younger than Shannon, and the betrayal destroyed Shannon emotionally. What made David's affair particularly cruel was his refusal to fully take accountability when he admitted to the affair but minimized it, claiming it was brief and meaningless. Shannon, desperate to save her marriage and keep her family intact for their 3 daughters, Sophie, Stella, and Adeline, went to couples therapy with David and tried to forgive him. The show documented Shannon's emotional breakdown, her weight gain as she stress ate, and her desperate attempts to win back a husband who'd already mentally checked out of the marriage. By September 2017, after 17 years of marriage, David filed for divorce. Shannon later revealed that David had told her he never loved her and only married her because she was pregnant. That statement was devastating. Shannon had spent nearly 2 decades married to a man who claimed he never loved her at all. She'd given him 3 children, supported his business, and tried to forgive his affair, only to be told none of it mattered because he'd never wanted her in the first place. Monsieur David moved on quickly after the divorce, dating, and eventually marrying a woman much younger than Shannon. Meanwhile, Shannon spiraled. She struggled with her weight, her mental health, and her self-esteem. Watching your husband replace you with a younger version is traumatic enough, but hearing him say he never loved you compounds that trauma in ways that are almost impossible to recover from. Shannon has slowly rebuilt her life since the divorce. She lost 70 pounds, undocumented her wellness journey on RHC, and eventually started dating again. She was in a relationship with John Jansen for several years, though that relationship ended badly in 2023 when John moved on with Shannon's former friend, Alexis Bellino. Shannon seems to have a pattern of being left behind by men who move on quickly, suggesting deep insecurities about her worth that David's betrayal created or exacerbated. Sonja Morgan's marriage to banking heir John Adams. Morgan ended before she joined Real Housewives of New York, but the divorce and its aftermath became Snorts, a central part of her RHY storyline. John was 25 years older than Sonja when they married, making him the older partner. But the power dynamic and eventual divorce left Sonja in a similar position to housewives, whose husbands left them for younger women. She was discarded, left financially vulnerable, or forced to rebuild while living in a townhouse that was falling apart because she couldn't afford to maintain it. John and Sonja married in 1998, when Sonja was in her mid-30s and John was in his 60s. They had one daughter together. The marriage lasted until their divorce was finalized in 2006. While John didn't publicly leave Sonja for a younger woman, the age gap in their marriage and the way Sonja was left struggling financially after the divorce mirrored the experiences of housewives who were traded in. Sonja went from being Mrs. Morgan, married into one of America's wealthiest families, to being a single mother in bankruptcy proceedings. Sonja filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2010, claiming to be nearly $20 million in debt. Her bankruptcy stemmed from a failed movie deal where she'd agreed to produce a film called Fast Flash to Bang Time, starring John Travolta through her company Sonja Productions. When the movie fell apart and her partner company sued her for $7 million, Sonja couldn't pay. She spent years in bankruptcy proceedings trying to satisfy creditors while living in a townhouse that was falling apart around her. The contrast between her life during the marriage and after the divorce was stark. And during the marriage, she had access to the Morgan fortune and lifestyle. After the divorce, she was scrambling to survive. While John's life continued uninterrupted with his wealth intact, Sonja's life imploded. That disparity in outcomes mirrors what happens when powerful older men leave their wives. The men move on seamlessly while the women are left picking up the pieces. What connects all these stories is a pattern of powerful men discarding wives who've supported them and sacrificing years to the marriage in favor of younger, less complicated women. Eddie left Brandy after she'd given him 2 sons and supported his career. Kelsey left Camille after she'd stood by him through addiction and given him children through surrogacy. David left Shannon after she'd forgiven his affair and tried to save the marriage. These men didn't leave because the marriages were broken. They left because younger options presented themselves. And in a culture that worships youth and newness, trading up seemed easier than working on what they already had. The emotional devastation for these housewives is profound and permanent. They lose not just their marriages but their identities as wives. They lose financial security. They lose years of their lives that they can never get back. And they have to watch their replacements step into roles they once occupied, often with their own children. The pain of being left for a younger woman isn't just about jealousy or competition. It's about feeling disposable, replaceable, and valueless in a society that measures women's worth by their age and appearance. Being replaced by a younger woman isn't just a divorce. It's a public execution of your worth as a woman. These housewives survived the humiliation, rebuilt their lives, and proved they were stronger than the men who discarded them. Subscribe for more Real Housewives stories about survival and resilience.